I think we've all had one of them days. What I want to know is, when are we going to get Keke Palmer in the role of Storm? All right, you guys, one of them days. I admit to not being super curious about this movie initially because it's a comedy and I'm not hugely into comedies, but I had been hearing some rumblings about how it was pretty good, and Paulie from Latino Slant was talking about it on his live stream a few days ago, so I decided I'm going to go see that on Thursday instead of Companion. I canceled my Companion ticket because I'd already seen it on Monday. I want to go see Companion again later with Arturo, but anyway, so I went to go see One of Them Days on Thursday evening, and it was funny. I enjoyed it, you guys. If you like comedy, I think you will enjoy this. It's the situations that these girls get themselves into. So basically, let me just break down the premise. The premise is these two lifelong friends and roommates, Dreux and Alyssa, well, they have a bad day and it just gets worse. So what happens is she's kind of dumb when it comes to, well, she's just kind of dumb in a lot of ways, but she's especially dumb when it comes to men. And she has given she's given their rent money to her latest stud muffin, who then proceeds to blow it. And they have to scramble to make up their rent money by the end of the day, or they're going to be evicted. In the middle of all this, Dreux, played by Keke Palmer, she is up for a potential promotion at her job, and she's very passionate about her work. She's a very dedicated worker. So she has high aspirations to get this promotion. And that interview is later in the day. So of course, while they're scrambling to get the money together and the stuff that they come up with to get the money for their rent, it is like everything just gets in the way of her trying to make sure she gets to her interview on time. It's just one of those crazy, wacky, it almost reminded me a little bit of, what was that? I was thinking about this when I was watching it. What was that? That movie with George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer. I cannot remember the name of it, but this movie reminded me a little bit of that one. Now, that one wasn't quite as crazy with the stuff that was happening as what was going on in this one, but it's just like one of those one-day movies, and everything that could go wrong goes wrong until there's this culmination at the end and everything is brought to a head and the story ends up resolving itself. And it's just, you already know going into it, or you already have an idea going into it, how you think things are, what the ending's probably going to be, but you're just there for the ride to see how is the writer going to take us on this journey and make it make sense and make it be enjoyable and funny and all of that stuff, and something that you wouldn't necessarily mind watching again. I felt like the writers in general, or the writer, I don't know how many people were involved in the writing of this, but I felt like they did a really good job of getting you hooked into the world that these women are living in and the situation. Their apartment is a dump, and in the meantime, a white person has moved into the area. The reaction of the neighborhood, or like, let's say the people in the apartment complex, to when the white chick comes in was pretty funny. But also something else I really appreciated about this was there wasn't anything wokey or divisive or any crap like that going on. This was just a pure fun comedy, situational comedy, character-driven comedy, dialogue-driven comedy, because some of the dialogue in here was pretty doggone funny. There were a lot of chuckles in my theater. This is a female-centric movie, so in my theater, I didn't see one man there. It was just a bunch of women. Not to say that a man can't enjoy this. It's just so you know, this is a female-driven comedy movie. Like Dumb and Dumber was a male-driven comedy movie. I hate Dumb and Dumber, y'all. I hate it. And there were parts of this movie that made me feel like I was living in the Dumb and Dumber universe, specifically when it came to the character of Alyssa. If I had any complaints about this movie, it would be with the character of Alyssa. She did some of the dumbest stuff in here, and you would think that by the time she made her biggest last goof that she would have known better. but obviously for purposes of the plot moving forward in a specific direction, these dumb things that she did had to happen. The problem for me was that the way it was set up and the dumb stuff she did was just, to me, it just felt a little bit like, oh, come on. You know, like I was frustrated for the character of Dreux because Dreux was scrambling hard to try to fix the situation. I mean, they both were in their own ways, but Dreux, she was the responsible one. She wasn't the one that was kind of ditzy and flighty and dumb. And Alyssa was just like, at every turn, practically, she would do stupid crap and it would mess things up. And it was frustrating for me to watch this because I was getting aggravated on Drew's behalf. And, you know, I get that this is something that's played for comedy, but like I already mentioned, some of it just felt a little bit over the top. Like, really, this is not a Dumb and Dumber movie. Can you really be that dumb? I mean, honestly, come on. So if anything aggravated me about this film, it was the character of Alyssa. I mean, I did like the chemistry between the two, and they did have a funny dynamic. So it's a little weird to say that Alyssa, not really weird, but like it feels a little odd to say Alyssa was, for me, the biggest negative of this story when she was such an important part of the story with how everything was going, and things wouldn't have ended up the way they did if it hadn't been for her being stupid some of the times, like good and bad. So, you know, it's just one of those kind of comedies, obviously, where the characters are going to do really dumb stuff that don't make any sense to most normal, rational people. And to me, it was just, there were several moments where I was just like rolling my eyes because of the things that her character would do. However, having said all that, it was certainly not enough to make me dislike this film. I did think it was enjoyable. I really liked the character that Keke Palmer played. I have read people saying that this character was more in line with the way her personality actually is. I don't know. I don't know much about her. I know that she was in Nope, which I did enjoy, and I like the way she played that character in there. I think I may have seen her in other stuff and just didn't know who she was, but I first noticed her, paid attention to her as an actor in Nope, and then of course in this. And when I was watching this movie, I was, well, number one, I think she's quite beautiful and very photogenic. The camera loves her face. And I was thinking, you know what? Besides Angela Bassett, Keke Palmer would be a magnificent Storm. I mean, can you see it? I can see it. Why can't we have something like that? I always wanted Angela Bassett as Storm, and that just didn't work out. But Keke Palmer would be right up there. Yeah, that's a tangent. Sorry, but it was something I couldn't help but think about when I was watching. So my squeaky chair is so squeaky, but I love this chair. It's ratty, but I don't want to give it up. Anyway, all of this to say that one of them days, it was fun. It was funny. The situational comedy in there was pretty hilarious. And like I said, the dialogue, the scene where they go into like this loan company to try to get a loan, like a quick payday loan. And the interest rate is 1900 APR. That is funny. I don't know. I noticed that right away. I was like, oh my gosh. It was just really, obviously that's over the top comedy, right? So Alyssa, with her over the top ridiculousness, that was just part of the story. And for people who are a little bit more, I don't know, forgiving of that sort of stuff, I think you will probably really enjoy this, especially if you are a lover of comedy. There's nothing really overly raunchy or nasty. I mean, there definitely are some sexually suggestive gyrations. There's some twerking that happens, which I think is completely ludicrous looking. I hate that. I think it looks so ridiculous. Some women that do it think it makes them look hot, and maybe guys agree, but I personally think it just makes them look really gross. But there's some of that happens in here. It's played for comedy. There's also some other, there's like the boyfriend. Oh my goodness, when the stud muffin is introduced. There's a shot in there. It's really, really funny. And it had pretty much the entire audience giggling. You'll know it when you see it. Other than like stuff like that, there's really nothing that's, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's rated R for language and for some of that stuff, but it's not anything that's just completely over the top and terrible. And like I said, nothing wokey, nothing divisive. It's just this crazy day these chicks are having as they're trying to tread water just make it through the doggone day. It was interesting to see the different situations that they got themselves into and how everything ended up when it was done. I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to talk about it, but I think that's about all I have to say about One of Them Days. If you guys check it out, let me know what you think. That's it for this one. Adios.